the topic of our show today is how can we live a meaningful life, a good life, when we are constantly tormented with the thoughts of what will happen? What will happen to our economy? What will happen to our children? What will happen to our families? What will happen to our freedoms?
It's always been this way. This is not new. Life is what it is. We make of it what we want it to be. So in every circumstance, regardless of what's going on, good, bad, ugly, we find the purpose. We find the course that we're supposed to be traveling, and we stick to it. And it turns out that whatever is happening lends itself to our course, to our purpose. So that's like finding meaning in whatever happens. Like a marriage. Whatever is going to happen, and we don't know what that's going to be, but whatever is going to happen, we will do it together. So we have a plan which transcends all the changes, all the issues, so we don't end up going in 5 directions at the same time. We don't end up being frustrated, confused, discouraged. We know what we have to do, and we just need the courage to not be distracted. Do what you're supposed to do. Everything will fall into place.
I don't know, there's so many questions because it seems that the biggest threat is with the children. So in a practical sense, how do we stay happy and positive in direction of what is going to be happening to our children?
We can't be passive about it. You're just going to sit and worry what's going to be. What do you want should be? And what are you doing to make that happen? We're not helpless. And we shouldn't just be thinking of fate, what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. We know what we want and we know what we should. We want our kids to be healthy. We want them to be moral. We want them to be good. And yes, we want grandchildren. So what are we going to do to make that happen? And no effort will be wasted. So it makes it, in a sense, it makes it even clearer, sharper, more definite. Seeing the craziness makes us more determined to put our children on the right path, to give them the right information, the right inspiration. We're almost desperate to be good. Isn't that a nice thing? It would be a wonderful thing to send them to a private school that teaches what you want them to learn. This is America. You get to educate your children the way you want. So find the school that suits you best and send your kids to that school. Don't be a victim of the public school system. That's number one. And number two, every bad news, every ridiculous headline, every negative development is an opportunity to bring up the subject, to talk about it, to make fun of it, like to tell your children, look how ridiculous this is. People are out of their minds. So it's a great opportunity to clarify moral issues. So instead of being intimidated, take advantage. It's not a matter of listening, really. You're not demanding any kind of behavior. You're educating. So you're not saying do this or don't do that. You're saying where's the intelligence? Where's the goodness? Where's the health? How is this positive? How is this going to end? So explain what you understand so that others understand it as well. So it's not an authoritative statement, it's an intelligent observation. They're being brainwashed without intelligence. The antidote is to use intelligence, not to brainwash them in the other direction. So we're not competing. We're just immune to the craziness. Hopefully we're immune. So the crazier the world becomes, the easier it should be to show what's wrong. So people are intimidated by craziness, right? You see an insane person, it's very scary because they're unpredictable, they don't follow any rules, you never know what's going to happen next, and it can be very embarrassing. But it's just craziness, not something that really needs to be intimidating. So if we can show the insanity of it, that shouldn't be too hard. I think people are intelligent enough that if you speak logically, you make sense, you don't get into arguments or and also you're not putting down other people. You're just talking about the senselessness of the attitude, of the philosophy, of the lack of philosophy, whatever you want to call it. And by modeling, by showing it, you're not intimidated, you're not impressed, you're not confused. That new policy that the government just came up with, it can't work, it's going to backfire, people are not going to buy it, it's crazy. So I don't know if we talked about this before, but children who are not disciplined, children who were raised with permissive and vague notions of what should be and what ought to be and what mustn't be, those children feel completely out of control. They are desperate for some rules, for some borders, for some definitions. Like, what am I doing? Who's doing what? What should I be doing? Why am I not doing? They become so desperate that if a government wants to take control of their lives, they think it's a good idea because they have no control. So children who are spoiled and children who are raised without any discipline will eventually become so desperate for discipline that they'll actually vote for a dictator. I know that's a contradiction in terms, but they will welcome a dictator. Somebody take control of my life because I'm out of control. Does that mean I'm going to lose all my possessions? I don't care. That's how desperate we become. So back in the 70s, early 60s, cults became very, very popular, particularly among the spoiled, the wealthy, the affluent, and the confused. They wanted freedom from their father's ways, from society's ways. So what do? So they join a cult where the cult leader takes your credit cards away, takes your car, takes your clothes, tells you what to wear instead, tells you to speak in a language you don't understand, tells you not to eat, not to drink, to fast. They even tell you who to marry. And it's all voluntary. These spoiled, rotten kids actually found pleasure in somebody taking over their lives, dictating their every move, from their diet to their language to their dress to their professions. It was shocking. I remember trying to argue with these kids. The man is taking away your money. Uh-huh. The man is dictating your whole life. You're letting him control your whole life. Uh-huh. So why don't you just let your father control your life? What's the difference? They were so desperate for discipline. And discipline doesn't mean being beaten with a brush. It means give my life some structure. Give it some shape, some direction, some borders. Tell me at least where I don't belong. Something. But this open-ended, whatever you feel, whatever you think is right, it's killing people. So the reason people are not reacting so strongly in the way we would expect them to react, how dare you tell me what I should call you or what I think of you? You want my opinion? I'll tell you my opinion. Don't tell me what my opinion should be. So it's thought control and it's speech control and it's, why are we putting up with this? Not only putting up for, we're voting for it. It's because we're desperate for some clarity. Right from wrong, up from down, male from female, good from bad. We're so desperate. So the more clear we make our own position, the more jealous people will be. How come you know what's going on? How come you have some control over your life? Where'd you get it? How'd you get it? So it is a moral showdown, not a political one. It's, the ultimate battle of the godly versus the ungodly, which has always been going on. And there's been some good times and not such good times, but now it's the final battle, once and for all. This confusion, which begins, of course, with other gods. That's the beginning of the end. If we can't even agree on God, it's all over. Because God is the purpose of everything. Well, if we can't even agree on that, then it will just deteriorate to more and more details until we have no Torah and no commentary. Hillel was able to say, this is the whole Torah, the rest is commentary. We're going to end up with no Torah and no commentary, and then the dictators move in and take control, and we're a disaster.
People are very, very worried about the finances today. You said that once. You said people should not worry about their finance. Why do you say that?
Because it doesn't do any good. All the predictions you hear people say, there's going to be a recession, it's not going to be a recession, this is going to... And in the very same sentence, you say, I don't know what's going to happen next. So what are you predicting? Don't predict. Live your life the way a normal person lives. Don't be a victim to the craziness. So invest the way you would in normal times, give charity the way you would in normal times, or maybe even more, because people are really in need. Don't change anything. Don't take away what is definite because of some vague possibility. So until things become clear, you change nothing. Otherwise, you become a victim of the chaos. So don't go into chaos. Not for financial. This is not a financial advice because I don't know anything about finances. This is just a matter of sanity. What do you do when the world goes crazy? Don't go crazy. That's it. Don't be part of the craziness.
What advice would you give people that we thought were strong, but kind of still having a hard time today?
They are strong, and I won't question their integrity in anything, but they also believe that they're supposed to have some control. Because they've always had some control, or at least it seemed that way. And now it's rather clear to everybody that they have no control. So they're panicking. But if they can accept and understand that they never really had control and that you're not supposed to have control, let it be what it is. You still do what you're supposed to do. So we have control over our moral lives, over our goodness, over our godliness, and that's all we need. It's not written anywhere that you have to have control over the stock market. So you never did, you never will, and it's not important. So stop panicking. A person says, I've lost control over my life. You never had control over your life. You only had control over the quality of life. And that you've never lost. So what are you panicking? You're still doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that nobody can take away from you. Enjoy the ride. Watch the craziness work itself out, because it's going to.
How much longer and how much worse can it get than it is right now?
It'll get worse in the sense that it will become more obviously ridiculous and destructive. And as it gets more obvious, it seems like it's getting worse, but it's not. When it becomes more obvious, it empowers the healthy people. It empowers healthy thinking. So the question is, there are people who are willing to give up everything for a little control. Most healthy Americans are not used to that, and they have no intentions of giving up everything. So the question is, where is that tipping point? Where are those people who are not willing to sacrifice for a false god? They don't want to worship an idol that demands all their money and all their loyalty and even their brains. People are not willing to give that away. When those people who are not willing to give it away find the courage of their convictions, everything will be great. I hope there are more of those than the desperate people who are willing to sacrifice everything to this non-God. You have to find courage and trust and conviction in what you believe. If you give up what you believe because you want some control, that means that your belief is not very solid. You don't really trust what you believe. And the same is true with education. What you show your children at home, what they grow up with, what you tell them, what you fill their mind with. Do you have any doubt that that is going to be effective? Can all of that just disappear because they read a stupid book that tells them ridiculous things? Or they went to college and heard some ridiculous things? Do you trust the power of education? Right? We raise our children. We educate our children. Is that not the most powerful influence in the world? If you don't think that that's the most powerful thing, then you're going to feel like you've wasted your time. All that goes down the drain because one ridiculous professor comes up with ridiculous notions because he has his own private frustrations. And that's it. And all the good is going to go down the drain? Nah, come on. So even if for a moment your children buy all this ridiculous stuff, it can't compete with the healthy wisdom that you gave them.
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal. It's questions and answers. It's conversation. It's really relaxed. It's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program. There's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us. Take a look. Click the link below and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.